Tonight, baseball's most cinematic stage belongs to Philadelphia. The corn, the sunset, the throwback uniforms, and a national Netflix audience make this look like a celebration. But for the Phillies, this is not an exhibition. It is a pressure game hiding inside a post. Philadelphia enters Dyersville at 64-58, 9.5 games behind Atlanta, fourth in the National League wildcard ranking, and coming off 2 straight losses. The Phillies do not need a movie moment. They need a baseball win. Minnesota is 60-62, only half a game outside the American League wildcard field. So both teams arrive with the same contradiction, one unforgettable night and one ordinary game in the standings that could become painfully important in September. That is what makes Phillies versus Twins at the Field of Dreams more than nostalgia. The scenery will sell the broadcast, the standings will create the tension, and the biggest question is whether Philadelphia can stop treating winnable games like scenes that will fix themselves. This is Philly Sports Truth. Before the first pitch, we are breaking down what is actually at stake, why Aaron Nola is the center of the night, and why the most beautiful game on the schedule could expose the Phillies' ugliest problem. Major League Baseball is returning to the Field of Dreams for the first time since 2022. This is the 3rd edition of the event, staged beside the Iowa farm where the 1989 movie turned a baseball diamond into an American landmark. The league understands exactly what it is selling. Players walk through the corn, the light drops behind the outfield, old uniforms make the present look connected to another era. For a few hours, regular season baseball becomes an event that people who ignored August suddenly want to watch. This time, the audience is even larger. Netflix is carrying the game live around the world at 7:30 Eastern. That gives Philadelphia a national stage at the exact moment the team is trying to prove that its season still deserves national attention. That attention is useful, but it is dangerous too. A dramatic setting can make one night feel separate from everything around it. The Phillies cannot separate this game from the series they just played, the losses they have accumulated, or the race they are still trying to survive. The Field of Dreams is built around belief. Philadelphia's season is now built around evidence. The Phillies have to show that their talent can produce clean innings, timely contact, and a complete game before the calendar runs out of places to hide. Start with the record. 64 wins and 58 losses is not disaster territory. It is also not where a team with serious October expectations wants to be in the middle of August. Atlanta has created real separation in the division, so the wild card becomes the practical route. The phrase wild card race sounds forgiving because several teams remain alive. It is not forgiving. Every club around the line has games against weaker opponents, hot streaks, injuries, and pitching matchups that can change the board in less than a week. Philadelphia is not chasing an abstract number. It is chasing margin. A team with a thin margin cannot donate early runs, disappear for 5 innings, and assume one powerful swing will erase the damage. That pattern works just often enough to become a bad habit. The Phillies were just beaten 7-1 by St. Louis. One loss does not define a season, but the shape of the loss matters. When the offense goes quiet and the game gets away early, it reinforces the feeling that this club is waiting for urgency instead of creating it. Now the schedule hands them the opposite environment, a special uniform, a global broadcast, and a field designed to feel important before anyone throws a pitch. If Philadelphia needs external drama to play sharp baseball, tonight provides it. The real test is whether the focus lasts 9 innings. Minnesota has its own urgency. The Twins are below 500, but they are only half a game from a wild card position. That means this is not a friendly guest appearing in Philadelphia's movie. It is another desperate team trying to steal the ending. And that brings us to Aaron Nola. The probable starter has a 3-9 record, a 5.47 earned run average, and 29 home runs allowed across 125 innings. Those are not the numbers Philadelphia expected from one of its rotation pillars. Nola has also struck out 129 hitters. The ability has not disappeared. The problem is that too many innings turn on one mistake that reaches the seats, one sequence that refuses to end, or one early lead that forces the offense to chase. The Field of Dreams setting magnifies that problem. The crowd is close, the TV presentation is cinematic, and every long fly ball feels like part of the show. Nola cannot pitch to the atmosphere. He has to own the count and keep the ball away from damage zones. His opponent, Taj Bradley, enters at 9-4 with a 3.76 earned run average, 148 strikeouts, and only 17 home runs allowed. On the current numbers, Minnesota has the cleaner starting pitching profile. That does not decide the game, it does define the challenge. Philadelphia cannot assume it will receive 6 easy innings against Bradley. Nola's first trip through the order has to be controlled enough for the Phillies to play from level ground instead of beginning another comeback before sunset. The first key is strike one without middle mistakes. Nola is at his best when the curveball changes eye level and the fastball is a decision pitch, not a rescue pitch. Falling behind turns every at-bat into a choice between a walk and a hittable ball. The second key is Philadelphia's approach against Bradley. A special event can create home run swings from the opening inning. The Phillies need pressure before power. Deep counts, traffic, hard contact through the middle, and a refusal to let Bradley settle into a clean rhythm. The third key is defense. This field will be unfamiliar to both clubs. The backdrop, wind, foul territory, and lights are not excuses, but they are variables. The team that communicates better on routine baseball will prevent the setting from creating a cheap turning point. And the fourth key is the middle innings. Philadelphia's season has included too many stretches where the game appears to pause. No base runners, quick outs, a pitcher cruising. The Phillies need to make every inning cost Minnesota something, even when the scoreboard does not move. That is how a team turns an event into a win. Not with one perfect highlight, but with repeated pressure. The Field of Dreams will supply the images. Philadelphia has to supply the baseball that makes those images worth remembering. The Phillies uniforms deepen the story. Major League Baseball says the design draws from Philadelphia clubs worn from 1939 through 1941. The jersey carries the 1939 centennial patch, connecting this team to a franchise already more than a century old. Minnesota is using a 1960s-inspired look from the early Twins era. The contrast is deliberate. Two modern teams presented through their own history, playing beside a movie field that has taught generations to associate baseball with memory. For Philadelphia, history is never quiet decoration. It creates comparison. Every Phillies team is measured against the groups that made October feel inevitable, the stars who handled pressure, and the seasons that became part of this city's identity. That is why the throwbacks work visually and emotionally. They make the night feel timeless. But the current standings remain printed in modern numbers. A beautiful jersey cannot clean up a 5.47 earned run average or shrink a 9.5 game division gap. The uniform should remind the Phillies what they represent, not distract them from what they need. Philadelphia fans will enjoy the look. They will remember the performance. That is the bargain of playing on a stage this recognizable. One win will not erase the season's problems. It will not catch Atlanta, fix every quiet inning, or turn Nola's year into a vintage campaign. But one clean win can change the emotional direction of a team that has been searching for traction. A strong Nola start would matter beyond the standings. Philadelphia needs to know it can hand him an important game without preparing for immediate damage control. The postseason path, if the Phillies reach it, will demand trust in more than one starter. A disciplined offensive game would matter too. The Phillies do not need to prove they can hit a ball into the corn. Everyone knows the lineup has power. They need to prove they can build an inning when the dramatic swing does not arrive. And a sharp defensive night would show that the club can handle an unusual environment without becoming unusual itself. Contending teams make strange parks and national broadcasts feel ordinary once the pitch is thrown. That is the opportunity. The Phillies can leave Iowa with more than a great photograph. They can leave with evidence that the pressure has finally sharpened them instead of making them wait for someone else to deliver the moment. There's another layer to this game. Philadelphia has spent the season trying to decide what kind of team it is, a contender with a rough summer, a talented club surviving on reputation, or a dangerous October opponent that simply has not found its cleanest baseball yet. That answer does not live in one box score, but identity is built through repeated choices. Does the lineup shorten its approach with two strikes? Does the starter attack after an error? Does the defense stay connected when the environment becomes loud and unfamiliar? Those moments rarely become the thumbnail. They become the difference between a team that looks talented and a team opponent's fear. The Phillies have enough recognizable names. What they need now is recognizable behavior when the game begins to lean against them. The best version of Philadelphia is aggressive without becoming impatient. It forces pitchers into the zone, turns singles into stressful innings, and makes one opposing mistake feel expensive. The worst version swings as if every pitch must end the story. Iowa is a perfect place to reveal the difference because the night is already telling a story before the teams arrive. The Phillies do not need to manufacture importance. They need to channel it into routine execution, then repeat that execution after the first wave of emotion. That is the identity test. Can Philadelphia play disciplined baseball while everyone around it is selling a dream? If the answer is yes, the team leaves with a win and a model it can carry into the next series. If not, the movie setting becomes another excuse. Here is the live checklist. Watch Nola's fastball location in the first inning. Not the radar reading, the location. If the pitch stays at the edges and the curveball gets chased, Philadelphia can control the pace. If the fastball leaks over the plate, danger arrives quickly. Watch the Phillies' first two at-bats against Bradley. Are they seeing pitches and making him reveal the whole plan, or are they chasing the first hittable-looking fastball? The opening approach will tell us whether the lineup understands the matchup or is only reacting to the stage. Watch the first runner Philadelphia puts on base. Does the next hitter advance the pressure, or does the inning reset with a quick out? Great offenses do not merely create base runners. They make the pitcher feel that every base runner changes the inning. Watch the outfield communication after sunset. A movie field can make every fly ball look simple on TV while the players manage wind, unfamiliar sight lines, and a changing sky. One clean call can prevent the kind of cheap run that changes a close game. And watch Philadelphia immediately after Minnesota scores. That response is defined too many nights. Does the lineup answer with patient pressure, or does everyone try to tie the game alone? The next 3 outs may tell us more than the run that came before them. If those details go Philadelphia's way, the big moments can follow naturally. If they do not, no amount of dramatic lighting will save the game. That is why this matchup is worth watching closely instead of waiting only for the highlight that reaches social media. My prediction is not about magic. It is about the first 3 innings. If Nola avoids the home run mistake and Philadelphia forces Bradley to work, the Phillies have enough offense and enough urgency to take control late. If the Twins score early and Bradley cruises through the lineup, the scenery will become a trap. Every Phillies at bat will feel more dramatic, the swings will get larger, and a night built for patience will turn into another frantic rescue attempt. I am taking Philadelphia 5-4 because the situation is too clear to misunderstand, but I do not expect an easy night. The Phillies have to earn this one through Nola's command, patient at bats, and clean baseball after the cameras capture the corn. Now tell me your score prediction and the player you trust most tonight. If you want Philadelphia sports without the sugarcoating, subscribe to Philly Sports Truth and hit like the Field of Dreams supplies the stage. The Phillies have to prove they belong in the ending.